Hey, and welcome to Strap a Watch. Michael Knapp Leather. So, first thing, I just want to show you guys, because it just came, my newest edition of Hodinkee magazine. If you guys are a watch enthusiast like I am, you might want to check out getting a subscription. It's the most beautiful magazine in the world. It truly is. I've got my other issues up here, and this one, after I go through it this week, I'll get it hung up there as well. So I always reference them, and I've got a lot of other really cool books on watches. But on today's episode, a little bit different. It's going to be kind of a part one of a two-parter, which I've never done before. On this week, because I've had so many, especially subscribers in the last several months, reaching out to me about them wanting to get into leather crafting. And I even mentioned this, I don't know, maybe a month ago on one of my shows. If you're looking at getting into leather crafting, I'll kind of do a little show on that. Well, that's what this week and next week is about. Because what they always say is, what kind of tools do I need to get? What should I make first? And my first recommendation, always back to them, is make a belt. And that's what I did on Friday. I had to shift gears. I had a whole nother show planned for this weekend, but something happened, and I'm going to share that story in the second half of the show, what happened Friday. But I want you to think about this for a minute. Okay, these are two basic belts. I hammered both of them out at the same time. It took me about 3 hours on Friday afternoon to make these for some requests that I've had for months. But when you really think about a belt, it's kind of like a big watch strap. And so that's, that's my niche today is watch straps. That's my focus, is making watch straps. And by the way, I am sporting my Grand Seiko through this entire build on this video. You're going to see of me hand making these belts. And that was a mistake, because I never wear this Grand Seiko while I'm doing leather crafting, because I'm always so scared with the confined space in my leather studio that I'm going to bump into something and scratch it. So that's how comfortable it is. I didn't even really realize that's what I was wearing. And it's sporting that midnight blue alligator strap that I made for it. Oh, maybe 2, 3, 4 episodes ago. I can't remember how long ago, about a month ago. I did a show on this, and I can't tell you, since I did that show on this strap, the midnight blue, which for me was matching the midnight blue dial on my Grand Seiko SBGA375. I've had, I think, 7 orders total. I've got 2 right now getting built. New one just came in, Clay from Louisiana, thank you. I just shipped one about a week ago to Ewan, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I apologize. Sydney, Australia. Arthur in England and the UK, thank you. Mike in Atlanta, thank you. So this color, and there's a couple others, I'm sorry, I'm just forgetting your names and where you're at right now. Just super popular. I had never carried it before. I have to actually dye the leather, the alligator, to get it to this color. So you're going to see that on this show. But next week, what I'm going to do is really go into depth. I'm gonna be seated at the table, the leather table, and show you step by step making your own strap. I think a lot of you guys would get into this, and the tools you would need, where you can buy them, all those kinds of things. That's going to be on next week's show. So on this week, you're going to see me hand make these 2 basic belts and this more intricate belt. Like I said, that I have a story behind. So stick around, and after the intro, we're going to get right into it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Strap a Watch. And again, what we're doing here is making a couple of very basic belts for anybody that's wanting to get into leather crafting. These are 2 blank belts. They're made of English bridle leather. Now, you do not have to get English bridle leather. And that's what's neat. You don't even have to buy a big old piece of leather. You can actually buy the blanks. I'm going to be showing that here shortly. This is skiving. So here is a basic skiving tool, just like what I'm using right there. You can see you can get a set right there for about $15 right off of Amazon. And what I'm doing is tapering it down to that tip end. This will end up being the buckle end, and I'm interchanging footage here between the chestnut brown belt and the black belt, having some fun in editing, but this way you can see I was making both belts really at the same time. And yeah, I kind of make this look easy. Take your time when you're doing this to start. And really, you know, it's kind of a curved, that one skiver's kind of curved. This is a straight, this is a little bit more advanced. I wouldn't recommend doing this to start, but here is that vegetable tan blank, a 1.5 inch belt blank, or you can even get it where the holes are all cut and you're ready to go. You just need to get a buckle. So here I am getting ready to punch out. It's a 1 inch oblong punch to punch out a hole for the buckle to fit into. So here's a 1 inch punch by Tandy, you can see. So I'm just listing some basic tools that you guys could get right off of Amazon, just keeping everything easy. But there's a lot of different places to go to get, you know, leather products, leather tools, leather goods. And this is edge coat. That step really isn't necessary. I just do it to help protect the leather. So this is used with a lot of different leather crafting things of, you know, putting on an edge to get the edge nice and protected and slick and shiny black if you're using black. And that's what's so cool. I mean, you can, you know, if you got that vegetable tan to make your own belt, you could dye it any color you want. Any color, you know, black, brown, blue, red, whatever you want. This is cutting out the keepers. Again, I'm just interchanging footage. I love the editing process of putting my videos together. It's just an amazing, fun time for me. Typically, it takes me about a whole day of editing to put one of my shows together. It's very involved. So here I'm skiving the keepers, so the back end that will be fitting into, sandwiched into the belt blank. That way, you know, it's thin, it's nice and thin. But this is another idea. I mean, you could just get a kit of tools, you know, so that was like $32. I mean, that's really not bad for everything you're getting. Or you can buy a la carte, just, you know, one tool at a time. But just, you know, making a belt, it's really a few basic tools. That's what I'm getting at. That's why it's a good segue getting into leather crafting. It really is. And you can see here, this is a beveling tool. And that kit came with a beveler. So, you know, you use that to round off any sharp edges. And here's glue, just some basic glue, leather glue. There's all kinds. Make sure you're not allergic to anything that, you know, in the ingredients of any glue. Some glues have some pretty powerful chemicals. I just, you know, I'm not allergic to hardly anything. So I'm sewing in the keeper. You do not actually have to do this if you glue it in there very well. I just want to make sure it's never going to come apart. So if you punched in a couple small little holes and just sewed it any way you want, just make sure it's in there good. That's all you need to worry about with that keeper, because that's going to be all hidden. Like I said, right here, it's sandwiched in between. So I used glue to sandwich and fold that over. And you see the water where I folded the leather over. You need to what's called case the leather. You actually just dampen the leather so that it prevents it from splitting or cracking. And you let it sit in there. Get some water, apply it a few times, and start kind of forming it to start to bend. And especially where you've skived it now nice and thin, it'll be a lot easier to bend. But don't ever, after you fold leather, don't hammer it down where it's folded. Like on that belt buckle right there where the loop's fitting through, is you could actually just split it, and you don't want to do that. So here I am setting the rivets, and so this is, you know, just another thing that you're going to want to get if you're getting into making a belt, is a little rivet kit, okay? And here's a buckle, just a, an ordinary buckle. So Springfield Leather Company, that's one of the places I would turn you guys to. Another one is the Buckle Guy. Another one is Weaver Leather Supply. This is a tool you really don't need. You could just use a knife to cut the tip. So, and you can cut it any way you want. You can round it off, you can point it off, any way you want. I just, because I was making so many belts in the past, I had purchased, some of those cutters, those tip cutters in varying sizes to speed things up. You want everything for leather crafting when you're, doing it now as a business for me. You want to be able to do everything quickly, easily, and especially with high quality. So here I am applying the edge coat right there on the tip. And I had already, there's edge coat all along the edges already, a black edge coat. This is a little template tool, and I use a oblong punch. Now, you don't need to use that. You could get something just like this that is a tool made specifically for punching holes in leather, especially like even belt making. So it's a great little tool. There's all kinds. They come at different price points. And you can see how I put all of my holes a 1/2 inch on center instead of 1 inch. It's mainly kind of more of a European, more English style of old belt making. And that way you just get a really great fit on wearing your belt. And I'm embossing my logo. Right here you saw I cased the leather again and then applied some heat to my leather stamp. And there's my logo. And that way it's going to hold into the belt forever. It really, really will. Another step you really don't need to do, I just do it for some added protection on the back side, is applying some brown toconol to the brown belt. And I applied also some clear toconol. It's a finishing gum product. You don't really need to do it. So here's the story about last Friday. This is a new motorcycle I just bought for my wife, and I apologize for the camera work here. I thought I had done a better job, but basically I'm just walking around the motorcycle with my camera in my hands. So, and there's my motorcycle. It's a CB1100 Honda. These are both Hondas, CB1100. And my wife's new bike is a Honda Shadow Phantom. And right here you see that's called a Denali D2 accessory headlight. And so I had just bought my wife those same headlights to put on her bike. They throw out a lot of light, make everything really nice and safe. And on Friday, I needed to get some motorcycle pieces and parts. I had a bracket for mounting those lights already in a box on a shelf in my garage. So here's the lights. They just came, the new Denalis for my wife, and an eliminator switch so that they're just on the whole time. But those right there next to it, right here, these are the brackets. So I had these, and they were in this box, like I said, in my garage. And so I got the box down. Well, what had happened about a year ago, almost a year ago, really, because it was during when this leather studio, my new shop, the leather studio, was being built out. One of my patients, many of you all know that I'm an audio prosthologist. I own and operate a hearing healthcare clinic. We do hearing aids, hearing testing, hearing protection, in-ear monitors, all kinds of things. And this older gentleman, he's in his early 90s. One of my dear patients, he's been a patient of mine for about 10 years. His name is Albert. That's all I can tell you. I can't tell you his last name. And he's really cool, kind of country strong, old guy. He's still very fit. He, for a living, used to make those car carriers you see behind semi-trucks where they carry all the cars. They're called car carriers. He used to make those. That was what he did for a profession. So anyways, this guy, he was in my office, I think it was right around August of last year, so coming up 10 months ago, And he had this old belt with this hardware on there, and he gave it to me. He said, "Can you repair this?" And I told him, really no, it was all ripped apart. I said, "I could make you a new one." And the thing was, he had given it to me during, when I'm transitioning from the shop that I had in the garage out here in the backyard to the leather studio, the new building. and I lost the belt. I could not find the belt. I mean, I looked everywhere for this guy's belt. And a few months had gone by, and I thought, I'll be able to find it one of these days, but I looked and looked and looked, and I never found it. So I got honest with Albert. I told him, I said, listen, I'm really sorry. I think I lost your belt. And he's like, oh. And what I did subsequently is I made him a new belt, similar to the very basic belts you just saw me making for that request. And, I could tell right when I was handing it to him, I could tell he wasn't really pleased with it, which kind of took me aback. And I said, well, what's the matter? He said, well, do you make them thinner? And I said, well, you mean thinner in the thickness of the leather or thinner where it's going through your belt loops? Because this is 1 1/4 inch, and I notice you always wear jeans. I mean, this is perfect size belt for somebody who wears jeans. That's all I've ever seen him wear. And he said, oh, no, mine was probably half that thickness. And I said, oh, it couldn't be, Albert. Are you sure? He's like, yeah, I like them thinner belts. And I said, well, why don't you wear this one for now, because I feel so bad I lost your belt. I'll make you another one. He's like, oh, no, you don't have to make me another one. And I said, well, Albert, I told you I would, And he said, no, and he's been in a few times subsequently. And he's always sporting the belt, and I ask him how it's working out, and he's always like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. So the deal is, in this box of motorcycle parts, I found this belt, his belt, the one that was all ripped up, and it had this fake alligator embossed cowhide, and it had this funky shape to it, which is how I copied it in making this belt. So you can see it really tapers at the two ends. It is actually 1 inch all along running what would be on his backside, and instead I've now integrated it with real American alligator. And so this is the first time on the show I'm showing you guys using my sewing machine. I don't use this at all anymore, hardly. I mean, something like this for a belt. But I hand saddle stitch really all of my, fine leather watch straps. And, that's the thing. I could, but I just really, bespoke handmade. That's what it's all about. And, this is, it would have taken me a long time to hand stitch this alligator to this belt. So anyways, finding the belt on Friday, I had to totally shift gears. I knew I had to make this for Albert. He's coming in either tomorrow or Tuesday. And I don't know what happened to my camera work here, but I just slowed it down because it went really, really fast. I apologize for that. But here are the two basic belts, and there's my logos. So, I think these guys are going to be really pleased with this. It's actually, you've seen me on the show before for birthday watches, make one for my nephew. So the black one is for my nephew Spencer, and the brown one is for one of my very best friends, Kevin. And so they had asked me, months and months ago, can you make me a belt? And I said, as soon as I get a lull. Well, I've never had a lull. I mean, I have 8 watch strap orders in the hopper right now. So, it's I don't know if I'll ever have another lull. But they turned out sweet, so I know they're going to love them. I think Albert's going to be really happy with his. So listen, you guys, thanks for joining me. God bless you all, and until next time, keep on ticking.